Welcome back, everybody. This is the RGR Football Channel, and you guys know this is the Monday night Q&A. Ryan will be here shortly. As of right now, he's having trouble booting up his laptop, so we will get the train on the tracks as soon as he jumps in, but I will take over until that happens. I hope you all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. And much like everybody, yesterday was when I did most of my barbecuing and grilling. If you guys didn't see it, last night I even came up on the little live stream that we had, showed you my ribs from yesterday. If you want to see them, you can go ahead and do that now. Today, I didn't cook anything. It was a busy day for everybody here, and we decided to order out. And I'm just closing out my day with you guys and a little Zahn wit beer. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this. I'm sure that Ryan will help me with that, but these are actually quite good. My wife got a little 4-pack for me yesterday, so that was cool. All right. So thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate you. Thank you all for anybody in here who was also a member that served as well. I'll thank you for your services as well as my own. So obviously my wife downstairs who is still currently enlisted. So actually she's not enlisted anymore. She's an officer. So I can't say that. A little bit different. But again, thank you guys very much. Off the top, I know we're going to get a lot of talk about DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm just going to start off by saying the very first thing, okay, this is the first thing that we've got up here, and this will try to include everything that I've seen in the comments already. So if you guys have more D-Hop questions, I think we'll just try to lump everything in here right now as we start, because this is the one thing that most people want to see, and he's been toying with everybody. He's been in Houston. He was posting, I think, something on his Instagram of being at a gym watching the Patriots games or something like that, and posted it to his Instagram or something. I don't know. But DeAndre Hopkins, again, thank you for the question, Lee. If the Chiefs were to sign Hopkins, which wide receivers would impact most or be traded? I don't believe you're going to see anybody get traded, personally. They don't really see that. I don't see that being something that ends up happening for the Chiefs myself. But DeAndre Hopkins, again, we talked a little bit about it last night, but we'll start off the show about the money situation. There's going to be a number. There's a limit that the Chiefs will not go over, in my opinion, for the player, the age limit that he is. Yes, what he brings is different than what most players on this roster have. He has the best hands in the NFL. There's no question about that. And he would come in, give a reliable presence to the offense that, honestly, I'll say doesn't actually have one right now. There's no reliable presence to the offense in terms of someone who's always going to be in the right spot and do exactly what he's supposed to do. So, yeah, there is that to look at as well. And I apologize. I am trying to talk basically without using my nose, so it might sound a little weird. And my nose is just so stuffed up and my eyes are starting to water and itch. I took a little bit of, allergy meds earlier to try to get rid of this so I could talk for the next hour. But that's clearly not working for me. But there's definitely a number that they're not going to go over for DeAndre Hopkins. And that's the big thing for me. And I think for them as well, that they don't really need DeAndre Hopkins in terms of their offense. They believe that they can get everything done with the guys that they have. So personally, I don't think anyone will get traded, but the person most likely to be impacted is Rashee Rice, who is the fourth receiver on the roster right now, in my opinion. Obviously, there's lots of things that can be changed by that, but he would be the guy that, doesn't play as much. And also one of your starting roster guys like Sky Moore, who's a back end, might see less playing time. That's because MVS is not coming off the field. He's that speed guy down the field. Kadarius Toney, they believe, is the number one receiver. And Sky Moore is a slot. And I think the slot option realistically makes most sense for DeAndre Hopkins, who doesn't, get open the most, and you can use that to get him open a lot. So I think those are the two. Actually, would probably be Sky Moore being impacted the most, because Rashee's not going to play a ton to begin with anyway. So those are the two guys that I would, imagine to be impacted the most. And Sky would be the unfortunate guy that doesn't see a ton of playing time as a result of a trade for a signing of DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. So that would be my thing. But again, you're going to hear a lot of stuff about DeAndre Hopkins, and realistically, I don't know if it's out of the question, but based off of everything we know about DeAndre Hopkins, what he believes right now, things that we have heard, that it will be more of a money issue for Kansas City than anything. He will want to play here. The Chiefs would like him to be here as well. But it does appear, at least right now, that he wants to be paid a little bit more than the Chiefs are willing to more than likely move. So that's where my thing is. I don't think it's just between the Chiefs, the Bills. There's probably more teams in there as well that have been working to it. But yeah, that's my take on it. I'm sure Ryan will give his 2 cents when he comes in. And we'll just keep the train running. So again, we'll probably revisit the DeAndre Hopkins situation a little bit later. But right now, I just want to get it out there in front because, again, this is the main big talking point that everyone wants to hear, everyone wants to talk about right now. So we'll lead with it. And at the end of the day, if it happens, it happens. Great. If it doesn't, I don't think anybody should be too upset about it personally because their offense last year was great without a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. And they can do the same kind of things right now without DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about it personally. So, excuse me. Mr. Stan, thank you for the question. Since Patrick became the starter, I think he's lost the AFC Championship game, won a Super Bowl, lost Super Bowl, lost the AFC Championship game, won the Super Bowl. If that pattern went his whole career, or at least some variation of it, I think it would be nice. Would you be happy or think of missed chances? So, it is funny that we have gotten to this point in Chiefs fandom where this kind of trajectory could be thought of as unfortunate or things that may not happen or things that think about missed opportunities. I think that you can always think about missed opportunities in any season. So that's always going to be a reality of it. But I think, if this is the trend that stays and they never don't play in the AFC Championship game, I'm pretty stoked about that. That's definitely something I'd be very interested in. And since we have a little bit of my side of the story on that, why don't we hear from the guy you've all been waiting to see, assuming that he's ready to go?
You never know. Life sucks. Excuse me, folks. I'm sorry about that. Dan, appreciate you locking it down. I know you're not feeling the greatest. What were we talking about?
Well, I started the whole show off with a little bit of beer. We had some beer.
I love that.
We talked about DeAndre Hopkins because everybody wants to hear about DeAndre Hopkins. So, what are you doing over there, Ryan?
Well, see, I've had a long day is what it is, folks. Welcome to RGR Football. Me and a 6-pack of Tank 7 have had a nice day. And evidently my laptop didn't want to boot. So I'm a little bit behind on the times, but we're going to get there. So what topic were you into? Because you felt very heartfelt when I jumped in.
This is, thinking about this right here, Patrick Mahomes never not playing in an AFC Championship game. If this was the trajectory for his whole career, the idea of missed chances, missed opportunities, but never not playing in the AFC Championship game. Never. Is that something that you would love to see? I would love to behold that, to witness that. I'd love to.
I mean, here's the thing, is every loss, especially in these high caliber games that we're talking about, right? AFC Championship games, obviously Super Bowls. I mean, honestly, even a divisional round loss to like an arch rival that I have to be very frank, the Bengals have become, right?
Yeah.
Agreed. If that were happens, that's just fuel to the fire for the next year.
Yeah.
And so until he hits 37, 38, I'm not worried about it at all. I think that's just one more thing to come back and tweak his game again, because the thing that I'm intrigued by the most is just how Patrick evolves his game every single year and adapts. It's about the adaptation to what he gets.
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of inside information. There's 174 of you in here, and we're going to have a guest on next month. Most of you probably know who he is, but very often they don't get to talk and gush about Patrick Mahomes because it's an NFL show. You do that too much and people start to tune out. So we're going to give Robert Mays of the Athletic Football Show an opportunity to gush about Patrick Mahomes and watching from, he's a Chicago Bear fan, but is an objective football watcher, which I think to an extent, a lot of us are as well. We love to learn about the game and see how things unfold. We're going to give an opportunity for him to just kind of see what it's like to talk about Patrick Mahomes. And I think that this is going to be a nice, maybe a conversational piece, like how Dynasty starts and how you build a dynasty and how replicatable, how often do things like that come into fold. So this is a fun topic that we're going to talk about, obviously, with him possibly never not playing in the AFC Championship game, which realistically is still not out of the question, but I think it'll be fun for you guys to have that looking forward to, because Robert's a great football mind, a great guy who just loves to talk about football. So it should be a lot of fun.
I think you guys will totally dig it. And for those of you who remember when we had Nate Tice on, who is now Robert's main man.
Yeah.
We all kind of see things very similarly. I had maybe one of the best, just sit down and talk ball kind of conversations was with Nate at the time. So I think I'm really looking forward to that as well. But I think the fuel to the fire thing, think about it this way. So I just came off a weekend hanging out with my friends. We made a bunch of barbecue today. The burn ends went down perfect with the farmhouse. I'm just going to tell you. But a lot of water sports yesterday, right? And so it brings me back to that. For those of you that go to Lake of the Ozarks or wherever you go, get out on the wakeboard, right? It's not about getting out of the water. Patrick and the Dynasty are out of the water. They're up there playing and they're having fun now. It's like, are they going to get outside the wake? Or are they going to start hopping the wake? What are they going to do to maintain that level of execution? That's the challenge now, right? And I think that's where it comes into who's driving the boat, who set up the rope, who set the fins right. And that's all the role players that are back and forth in the offense and particularly the defense that has to give him the balance to be able to be who he is. So he doesn't have to put up 40. If he can get by with 35, we're pretty happy at this point, right?
Yeah, that's the point, right? You want to be able to, hell, 27. I'd love to win consistently scoring 27 points, because you want to know what? Patrick almost never doesn't score 27 points. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Folks, welcome to the show. I'm sorry I was late. We're going to take this time just to hit to the next question. But if you would, like, sub, and hit the bell. I know it's a holiday weekend. I'm sure Dan hit it at the top of the show. My laptop was giving me trouble, so I didn't get to see it. But for all of you who've lost somebody on this day, we are remembering the folks that have fallen, including my granddad. That Memorial Day is a big deal, and I appreciate all you being here and all that those who have served have given. As one who is a Navy brat and not a service member, I particularly appreciate it because I have a different perspective on it. So cheers. And as much as we have fun on these days, we talk some good smack. In fact, Dan, I think next time we're just going to sit down and we're going to go on the beer channel on RGR Craft, and we'll just talk about what we're drinking.
We should. The food channel, the beer
really
channel.
Should.
Matter. We need to do it.
Craft can be anything. It could be foodie stuff too. Exactly. So we're gonna switch gears on that. So everybody, if you haven't subscribed to RGR Craft, go over there. I haven't put anything on it for a little bit, but we might start firing that up soon because it's barbecue season. So, but that said, it's all about the balance that we have. And Memorial Day is always kind of a landmark for me in the offseason because we've gone through all the work through the draft. We've gone through all the back and forth and trying to set the roster, trying to add to it with the young guys in the draft. And now it's settle time, retaking stock. What could you do? I know there's a ton of questions from what I see in the chat about D-Hop. I'm sure, Dan, that you've probably already addressed that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I see D-Hop as the icing on the cake. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't change my expectation that a Super Bowl berth is in this team's future.
Agreed.
That said, how do you get there? How can you make the little differences? Right now, I just want to take a step back and remind everybody that it's not the starters that I'm so concerned with. What was the weakness of this ball team last year? For me, it was the special teams. Overall, if you just took one phase of the game, how can you elevate the special teams by having 53 through 42 be guys that can contribute? So, that's the thing that I want to pay attention to in the coming weeks in OTAs. And then I do feel like there's going to be a little bit of turnover in camp itself, particularly on the guys that are on the special teams that have to make the roster that way. Maybe I'm being not so optimistic, but if I'm wrong, Dan, tell me. But I think that's where the battles are going to be, is at the third, fourth, in the depth chart type positions.
Yeah, I mean, special teams group last year, like you said, it was not good. It wasn't great. And if you have bad special teams, They actually, special teams kind of saved some of their season a little bit at the end there. Like the return, both two returns actually, the AFC Championship game return from Sky Moore and the Super Bowl return from Kadarius Toney. They kind of flipped the script on their season in those games respectively. But if from a wider range, you take that not binoculars. What am I thinking of? The magnifying glass. You pull it back a little bit, and you see everything else behind, underneath the surface. And the special teams for 90% of the season were pretty poor. And this new rule is going to change some things as well. Not having the fair catch now, giving the ball to the 25 instead of the 20. It changes a little bit of a dynamic for them on kickoffs. Because we've always seen the mindset of return. And a lot of times, that doesn't really work out for them. It's not been very good. And Pacheco wasn't the best kick returner last year, be very honest. And if he's going to be their starter going forward, which I think that was a question that was in there, the Chiefs starting running back, yeah, he's probably going to be the starter. Don't want him doing it anymore. So you need to find a new returner. With new returns comes an experience, typically, because it's going to be a young guy or it's going to be Richie James. We'll see. But these special teams guys, they got to cement themselves in. Maybe they'll vie for backup roles. I don't know. I typically lean to the 17, 18 spots on the first and second teams almost being locked up at this point, if I'm being very honest with you. It's a very much a depth battle now. You guys want to make this team? You want to vie for a championship? Fill your roles. Special teams is how you're going to make this roster. If you can showcase yourself in special teams one way or the other, you can be the difference between a bad special teams group and a very good special teams group that solidifies a good defense and an elite offense. That's the difference here.
And let's be real, just like that wakeboarder trying to plane it out, right? Everybody's coming for him. Every little wrinkle on the water surface is coming to knock you down. The Bengals, the Bills, the Jags, I think, are going to be a bigger factor than we think. And let's be real. Maybe I'm totally wrong on Anthony Richardson. And maybe he does make a difference as a rookie. And now the Colts are back in it, right? Because they can run the snot out of the ball, whether it's the quarterback or not. There are options here. So I think being able to just buoy that at the top, stay on the surface of the water, and just fend off everything that's thrown at you, that's going to be the challenge. Special teams does that. It's not just the big names. It's everybody down to the roster. Honestly, on this roster, it's the practice squad players, because we've seen those guys have to filter through and get called up to make contributions on Sundays, especially late in the season. So I think that all feeds into, and I personally enjoy that. For those of you that are big college fans, I know Avery's probably in the house. Avery watches way more college than any person should. I'm just saying. I hope you're doing
Probably.
well. But if you're used to those giant rosters, this is part of the thing. Like, the practice squad in the NFL matters now. It's not throwaway guys. It's guys that you might have to call up 2, 3, 4 times. You might have to give them an actual contract because they have to contribute to what you're doing. That's where it comes down to the front office doing their due diligence, digging as deep as they can, as far as they can, as often as they can, in order to fill out 54 to 69. That's where might be the true special teamers that have to not just get all the practice time, but have to fill in on game day. This whole thing about Germany throws me for a loop. And we're going to get to the main topic tonight, folks. I promise you, because changing new directions, it was the theme that I was going for, because I do think there has to be some evolution in a number of ways, but it's who has to play those roles. And I think the Germany week in particular is going to show us who can adapt to that, because I think when you go back and you look at history, what's the easiest thing to do? Come out and execute game plans that you've executed before. What's the hardest thing to do? Play an ad hoc sport on plays that don't go according to plan. That's the definition of special teams, particularly in coverage. Kicking is one thing, but coverage in particular, I think, is where some of those European games get turned, because you have to have everybody on the same page, all 53, and in this case, all 69, depending on who you call up that particular week. So with the Chiefs being the forefront, and Matt Mullen, cheers to Matt. He's a good dude. He's out there doing the Clark Hunt's work over in Europe right now in Frankfurt. I mean, that's how big this is going to be. Impactful game for the entire league. And so they want to have everybody at their max. And I think that's where it comes into keeping that roster tight all the way across. And before I get too far down in a hole here, we'll go to Micah's question. If Pat ever got hurt in camp, or early in the season for the year, would you rather tank in hopes of a top 3 to 5 pick, or would you rather unrealistically try to compete? We need a top 5 pick at some point. You tell me what you think, and I'll give you mine.
Well, the thing about Dynasty is that no, you don't. Okay. The Patriots, for as long as they were good, they never had a top 5 pick. Even the year with, Matt Castle, they went 10-6. They just missed the playoffs, but they didn't tank, and they never had a top 5 pick. So and it comes down to if you think that they desperately do need that. I don't. Also, the roster is not that bad enough that you would end up being a top 10 or a top 12 pick by just playing the rest of your games. You'd have to actively lose games, okay? Actively losing games when you're a team, when the roster that's that good, will have things being looked into, especially in this day and age where everything's under a microscope with that kind of stuff. We're talking about losing that potential draft pick because of tanking. I know that, NBA is different and the lotteries for the NHL and the NBA are different, but this is a different thing where you're vying for a number 1 or a top 5 pick because of your record. A little bit different. So when you're realistically, your roster is that good, and a guy like a Blaine Gabbert or a Shane Buechele won't necessarily make you lose every single game from that point on. That's where you have to start to think. Realistically, okay, I do think that a drop from Patrick Mahomes to a Blaine Gabbert decreases your win probability by more than half. More than half. But we have seen Chad Henne, Matt Moore come in and play competently enough to be close in some of these games and actually win them. So for me, I would rather not risk the idea of further losing that draft pick because the team decides we need to try to find a way to get a top 5 pick. More about just winning it as much as you can, but also understanding you're going to get a higher pick than you've had in maybe a decade at that point or 5 years at that point. That's what this really comes down to, and making that pick count. I
guarantee you one thing. The word tank is not in Andy Reid's vocabulary. I guarantee you.
You don't know what it means unless he's talking about a tank on the road.
And if you have Andy Reid, and quite frankly, if you have Matt Nagy, you have Steve Spagnuolo, you have Joe Cullen, it's about the adaptation. Who can you get to? You have to come up with a new plan. You have to maybe create a new process, a new game plan, a new foundation. Who can fill that role? Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Joe Tooney. Guys that don't have much to lose. Legacy is what this is about. If you can get to the point where you win games to make a playoff run without Patrick Mahomes, now it's not just, hey, Patrick got into all those Super Bowls. It's the fact that they had the backbone of the roster to get it done when they didn't have him, which I believe can be done. And once you get into the dance, if you were a playoff team, anybody can win any Sunday, any week, any year, no matter what. It doesn't matter. It just takes a little bit of lightning. And I think that that's something that Andy can conjure probably. I don't know if he has the Elder Wand or whatever you call it, but he's got something. You know what I mean?
Just think about those games that Matt Moore played against Green Bay, against Minnesota. Those were some fun games to watch by any stretch. They competed. Everybody did. Defense, offense, everyone was really into those. So, yeah, they loved them.
Hi, lady. How's my favorite blonde girl?
Hi. Everyone's saying hi.
She's the greatest. Everybody say hi to Avery. Yeah. Hey, coming off of this, man, she's gonna have to be an actress or something. I don't know. School plays are gonna be challenging for you, my friend. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Justin said, I think they should play Travis a little less. Not because he has lost his stuff, but to save him for the harder games. What are your thoughts? Justin, I like the way that you're thinking. And I've been talking about that in generality for the last couple of years, just about saving overall snaps, right? Saving targets, just giving him a little bit more rest. But you bring up an interesting twist to that is are you doing it by opponent? Do you understand that, you're going to be tempted to say, don't play Trav against the Detroit Lions, right? Because they're the Lions. Well, the Lions have been coming on. And so you don't want to see somebody take take a left-hand turn when they shouldn't. But there are games that I think you can probably back Travis off, give him a couple of series and see what happens. Andy's comfortable at 14 points. Andy's comfortable at 10 points, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'd like to see a 21-point lead before you take Travis Kelce off the field. But I can see some platooning where it's an early day for Travis a few times. I think that's perfectly reasonable and probably accomplishes the goal of keeping him healthy for the longer run. Do you agree?
Yeah, this year, at least as of right now with the schedule, the back half is daunting, and it's the playoff push. If you can save a couple of snaps here, 10 or 15 snaps there for Kelce to have him fresher for that stretch into the postseason, it's all going to be worth it. And that's where this tight end group, that's why I think this year, this is the Jody Fortson, you got to have it year. Okay. You need to show that you can be at least somewhat impactful in an absence of Travis Kelce to show, or at least when he's on the field at the same time, to take some of that off of him. Okay. This tight end group is going to have to step up to get him past that hump to play down the stretch where it's going to be more important that he's a focal point of the defense to open up everybody else. Earlier in the season, you can make it work. Later, when the defenses get better, when it gets colder, when defenses are more keying on everything and they have more film on you, that's when you need Travis Kelce, personally.
Save it where you need it most, right? You use your best weapon in the best situation that helps you. Thank you, Justin. Great question. Steve as well. What players on the current roster might lose playing time this year? Let's split it, Dan. You want offense or defense?
I'll take defense. You go on.
Okay. Okay. The guy that I think might lose the most is MVS. If everything goes according to plan, he's going to line out there, start the season. Could I see it be more sporadic as things go on? If Rashee Rice comes on, certainly if this acquisition of D-Hop becomes a reality, that changes the whole formula, to tell you the truth. But it becomes about who can be dynamic. And one thing about MVS, he's made some good plays, he's made some bad plays. Is dynamicism really what he brings to the table? That's not what I would lead with. So if you got to have some kind of like push comes to shove, if Kadarius is coming on, if Sky Moore is doing what we expect him to do, it might be MVS that has to give up a few snaps.
At the same time, the speed is something I don't think Andy Reid wants to take off the field because that shrinks what he wants to do, right? He wants to open up the middle of the field and the intermediate parts with that speed. So I push back on that myself. But defensively, you guys are going to like this answer, and it's Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's going to lose some snaps this year to Drew Tranquill on obvious passing situations because he's just not a very good pass defender. He does not have a great feel for space. I'm going through Trent McDuffie's games right now, and there are just times where he looks so uncomfortable in space, like he doesn't know that there's someone behind him just screaming across the field. That awareness is not there from him. Okay, Drew Tranquill and Willie Gay on the field at the same time in passing situations, y'all. I don't know if I can tell you how physically ready for this I am because he has been practicing with the green dot in the OTAs and parts of the beginning of his training camp to get him up to speed in that department. In my opinion, that's to take some of the work off of Nick Bolton's shoulders and let him do what he does best. Downhill, ruin the run game for the offense, and then force it to Drew Tranquill and Willie Gay to play in the passing downs to be at your best. I think that makes the most sense.
It's funny because I would have gone to the same position, but I'm worried it's Willie because of the veteran presence, the recognition. Willie is still frenetic at times because the recognition is there, but it's just a touch slow. So it's 2 steps extra in one direction, transitioning back to the other. That said, if that's our problem, if that's the biggest problem this defense has, which linebackers on the field, I think we're pretty good. Okay. The other guy that I would mention is Derek Nottie, because I do expect more passing down situations. I feel like the spreading of the offense, the wide receiver core be able to get more first downs, be able to build more drives, puts the defense in more situation where they can pass rush specifically. And we all know that Derek's a first and second down kind of player.
Yeah. I also think Kendrick Coburn just might be better I really think that he just might be better.
Let's see what he looks like after an actual professional practice.
I know. I'm getting a little too hyped for a player who's never touched the field in the NFL.
Right.
I'm just saying.
I like the guy too. I'm just saying. What's up, Micah? How are you? What's the most you would trade up, Dan, for Bowers in 24?
What? Nothing. Zero. Brock Bowers is going to be I will not trade up for Brock Bowers. He's going to be a top 5 draft pick. Yeah. I'm betting the Chiefs are picking at 32 next year. I don't know about you guys, but we're talking multiple first-round draft picks to go up to get a tight end. Okay. Just no, and no. I love tight ends too. I love Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is fantastic. He's a fantastic
Brock, I'm going to
player.
need you to get some kind of weed violation this season or something to knock down your profile. Because if you get to 15, then I would, if I am Brett Veach, start looking to come up.
If he approaches 10, okay? If he approaches pick 10, okay, I'm all in. Find a way to go get him, okay? But he's going to be a top 5 pick in my opinion, and just no.
He's just that good.
Won't do it.
Just go watch him on the jet sweep. It'll tell you everything you need to know. It's not even about the downfield routes.
Speed for a tight end is nuts. His speed for a tight end is nuts. It doesn't make sense.
And for my cousins that I know you guys are watching, you don't have to text me every time. Yes, I know. All my cousins are dog fans and dog alums. I have to say, UGA, you have a special place. There's only one Brock Bowers. You're not going to be like this every year, so don't get used to it. I'm just telling you. He will leave eventually. Mr. Gary Holland, thank you much. Everybody give Gary a hand. One of our mods in the house. We appreciate you. Dan, can you see Bushman making the team this year? Can he push for it?
I don't think so. Because I don't think they're carrying 5 tight ends. That's what it comes down to. Blake Bell, I know they've talked about Noah Gray playing some of those tight end positions or these fullback positions. I think you're going to see Blake Bell do some of that too. And some of these move fullback, these guys that line up in the backfield at quarterback because he does the QB sneak. I don't see Bushman getting on the roster because I think they're only going to carry 4 tight ends.
Gary, I'm a Bushman guy too. I think he's got one more year on the practice squad when Blake Bell is in a Walker, Bushman's going to get a shot. We just got to wait a little bit.
Absolutely.
For extra content, would you please check out the rest of the experience over in Discord? You guys can go there right now. It's RGR Nation. You can look that up and jump in there. And if you tie your accounts together, you'll get there. If you are a rookie member or above on our channel, you get into the full Discord automatically. FLDB set that up, and we appreciate him very much. Kevin's in with Dan. Do you think that our defense will improve to a top half, meaning 16 or better? And do they play better than last year on the road?
Oh man, I think they are going to be a top half defense, and I'm going to let you guys in on a little information. They were a top half defense adjusted terms of DVOA last year. They're what was it? What's the word for it? It's the one that leads towards the end of the season. That's weighted towards the end of the season. I would say weighted DVOA. So it's weighted towards the back half of the season. So it's graded as you go along. They were, I believe, the 15th or 14th best defense in the NFL with weighted DVOA last year. I think they're going to get better this year. I think that they can only really go up from what they did to start the season. And the only reason they were as far back as they were was because you had 7 rookies playing meaningful snaps. They're not rookies anymore. They got better. They figured things out. They understood communication. I don't know, man. I'm a little too hyped for what this defense is going to be this year.
I'm pumped, and you guys know me. I'm defense first, and then you get the pretty quarterbacks to do their thing. But whatever. Apex, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a good Memorial Day, as to you. And thanks for being online. Which opposing team would you not want Hopkins to join? Bonus, go Knights, go. And kudos to you. I mean, do I want to see him playing for the Bills or the Bengals? Bengals don't seem to be in it. You never know.
No way.
I don't want to see him in Buffalo. Honestly, I'd probably pay $2 million of Clark's money a year just to see him not in Buffalo, to tell you the truth. So that's probably the top of the list for me.
Yeah, Buffalo's the top of the list. And sneaky second for me is the Patriots. I am rather high on what the Patriots are going to be this year.
Yeah.
I'm actually I think their defense is going to be even better than it was last year, and they were a top 3 defense in the NFL. That's kind of scary after you look at what their draft was. And if you guys are interested at all, I did a show with Taylor Kyles that is a beat writer for the Patriots over on NFL33.com. It's a fantastic show. You can listen to it as a pod or as a video. It was really, really great. Lots of insight. But yeah, they could be really, really scary defensively. And we know Bill Belichick has a really good game plan for Patrick Mahomes every time he plays them. Right. So that does give you a bit of a scare factor. So giving Mac Jones an actual reliable receiver, not named Juju Smith-Schuster, does give me a little bit of pause, even though I don't think Mac is great.
You can find it over here at NFL 33, you guys. And I'll try not to play that through the whole screen. But this is where Dan and I do a lot of our work. And we have a couple of folks that are helping us. Looks like we're going to keep growing the crew over there. So if you want to look for like league-wide type information, that's where you can find us over there. A lot of fun stuff. As Dan, you are far and away more into fantasy than I am. Oh, yeah. But it all kind of ties together. And especially when you talk about different metrics that reveal what an offense really looks like. Fantasy has some powerful insights that can give things away. Apex, thank you for your question. And that just leads into more of like what could be coming. Who's going to try to make that jump to stay with the Chiefs? There's a lot. I still feel in my gut, despite all these ribs, the Jets are seriously going to think about something to try to get Aaron that much closer. They don't have much time for him. If I am Joe, I'm like, listen, I got a former MVP. I can't count on him doing what he used to do. I got to give him every opportunity for 2 years to get this done, or it's a wasted effort for me. So I will not be surprised to see them pull out every single stop they possibly can.
Absolutely.
And to combat that, obviously, Gary is asking, who do you see the starting LBs as this year? And I'll make this distinction before Dan tells you the truth. It's going to start as a 4-3, but I'm not going to be surprised if there's at least a game where they decide they're going to start in a base of a 3-4, and that changes the scenario. They have the linebackers to do it now. I feel better about this linebacker core than I have in probably 6 seasons.
I mean, as much as I think we would like to see that, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't think Spags is going to loosen the reins that much. I just don't see that happening. But you and I have talked about this quite a bit. Like, what purpose does Leo Chanel serve? If this is you're being relegated to a Sam that barely plays because you want to be in nickel like 60% of the time anyway, I'm starting to lose confidence in that draft pick. Personally, he's not out there to do enough. He's a 3rd-round draft pick, a top 100 draft pick too. Yeah. Like, we're not talking about one of the end of the compensatory 3rd-round picks. Like, I don't know. If you're not going to get him on the field in more pass rush situations as a defensive end or something to get him on the field, I don't get it. So I would like to, because you could get him on the field as an outside linebacker. You could work that. You could function that way. So I'd like them to do it. I don't believe that they're going to.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be the voice of optimism. I know that's kind of rare around here, folks. Don't drop your hats, but you never know sometimes. Jack 226, hope you're well. With the new rule change, is there any reason?
Well, you just came unplugged, or is that me? You're very quiet. Maybe it's me. Oh, I think I turned you down all the way.
Okay, awesome. Better. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth, but I will tell you this. Honestly, the whole kickoff rule has just got me blasé. I mean, we're 2.5 seconds from going from, hey, you get the ball on the 25 and you start your possession.
Oh, it's not me. It's you. You must have knocked something.
All right.
Oh, well, there we go. We're good. We're good.
Okay. I won't move it again. Things have been crazy.
Oh, you're still quiet again. What's going on? Your mic is like.
Well, let's try that.
Leave it there. Don't touch it.
I'm leaving. I'll see y'all later.
I'm out. All right, good.
I'm going to talk from back here. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I think they're just about to say, screw it. We're not kicking off anymore. Everybody gets the ball from the 25 to start your possession. I'm a little bit.
That's very close to what's going to be happening. That's what Andy Reid's talked about. He's like, what's the point now? Like, what purpose does the kickoff serve if you're just going to give possessions at the 25? No one's going to want to risk inside the 25 anymore.
When Andy Reid, possibly the most finesse head football coach in the league in the last 20 years, says this is almost like football, it's gone downhill, folks. We've taken too much physicality out of the game when Andy's calling it flag football. And I don't know if you can even hear me anymore, Dan.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm just going to put this up here because, yes, Han did shoot first.
He did. Kudos to my kids. They gave me this for Dad's Day last year.
That's fantastic.
Right?
That's so good.
I love you, little muskrats. Yeah. So I've been walking around all day pissing people off. It's been great. Has Dynasty ever popped up almost as soon as one ended, as it has with us and the Pats? It's a very good question.
Apologize.
I'm not clicking anymore. Between the mic and my mouse, I'm done, bro. I mean, that's a very good question, KL. Like the turnover from one to another. I want to say, after the last Steelers championship, not the last one, not the one with Roethlisberger and Tomlin, the one before that, the last one with Noel, didn't it turn to someone else pretty quick, if I remember correctly? I could be wrong, but that's when I was a kid, and I know for most of you weren't alive there. So that's hard for me to remember. But no, it's been a very quick transition, right? And it's honestly, it's just about the fact, and this goes to show every new GM, every new owner in this league, that there is nothing more important than a dynamic, game-changing franchise quarterback. None of this happens without Patrick Mahomes. He is the linchpin. I don't want to give him too much credit because it takes at least 23 other guys on a daily basis to pull off a win in this league. But without him, it doesn't become a dynasty. It doesn't turn over that quickly. There's all these people talking about, I mean, has anyone said anything about Malik Willis in the last 3 months? Because no, everybody's poster child from last year has been MIA because it just doesn't happen that often. And that's how unique this is. So it is a little bit of lightning striking twice. You have a good point, Caleb. Yeah. Like that is a fast transition, but it's all about him.
Quickly, I don't think it ever happened. I think you could say after the Steelers, the 49ers were in the 80s after that. And then after that, it was the Cowboys who won 3 in the 90s. And then it was the Patriots. But it was never this quick. Like the last Super Bowl that the Cowboys won in the 90s was 1996 against the Steelers. And then it was the Patriots starting in 2002, 2001-ish. Right there. So you have like a 5-year grace period before the next dynasty starts. I mean, you can argue if the Cowboys were a dynasty, but I think you win 3 Super Bowls in 3 years, you're a dynasty. So that's what I would say personally. And yeah, so it just doesn't happen this fast.
Yeah. I mean, and kudos because you have, and let's be real, Brett Veach is here because of his experience with Andy Reid. Brett Veach isn't like, Mozart. He didn't come out of the blue. He came up in Andy's system. He understands what Andy wants. There's a symbiotic relationship there that furthers the cause, but in identifying and understanding how to address what the quarterback needs. Remember, for those of you that are stubborn, I had Patrick Mahomes as the number 2 quarterback in his class behind Deshaun Watson because I knew he needed work on his footwork, on his delivery, on the fact that he had to play within structure a bit more. They were able to do that in a single year by coaching him and having him watch Alex Smith. That's remarkable. There are quarterbacks with less broken fundamentals, quote unquote, and I'm being facetious there, folks, that will never, ever win a football game in this league. That's the uniqueness of this particular situation.
It just what they were able to do with Patrick Mahomes, who you could argue didn't have a college career of winning. Like he just, I mean, obviously he didn't, but like you wouldn't say that guy's a winner. That guy's a winner. Like you wouldn't, because that doesn't get deemed to guys that go out there and always try to win but lose in high scoring games. That doesn't get put on them. It gets to the guys that always grind out a win in college football, or they always their defenses are great and they have like a couple of drives here and there. Patrick Mahomes, in college, this was before I started doing any of this, by the way. I didn't start actually doing this till after he was drafted.
Good Lord, I'm old.
But he was so gifted, and Cliff didn't have to do anything. You want to know how I know that? Because the Arizona Cardinals are a mess, and offensively they're a mess. So he said, hey, Patrick, go play football. And that got him hired as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's just to show you that Patrick Mahomes, even in college, was a winner. But that team was so dysfunctional everywhere else that he couldn't win. And that's why he dropped to the 10th pick. And we can thank Cliff Kingsbury for putting that group together, that defense for being so bad, and for everything else. The Bills as well for allowing the Chiefs to trade up in there. And I bet you they're just sitting back. Yeah, we got Josh Allen, but they have Patrick Mahomes because of that, you know.
Dude, that was well done. Like the road to get to Cliff Kingsbury being thanked was like the Lewis and Clark trail. Holy crap. Well done. Damn. Folks, thank you. And Kevin in particular for mentioning this too. Just because you didn't serve doesn't mean you can't be thankful. So cheers to all you devil dogs out there. We appreciate you. Info. Do you think the special teams would move up several spots in the rankings just for taking touchbacks rather than bringing it out and trying to hit something? And learning when to fair catch. Seems like a lot of that is on Tobe. It is, but Tobe is also a coach that wants to show confidence in his players and let them make the decision. Absolutely. Yes, it would definitely be a plus to be a little bit more on the conservative side. But these are young players that are looking to make a change, looking to make a spark, make a big play. I won't fault them for that. If this was, honestly, if this was the Mac Jones offense, I'd tell him no. Touch it back every time. Do not take a risk. You don't have the backing to try and take it out and fail. You got Patrick Mahomes. You can take it out to the one and fail, and I'm going to live with it.
And how does always fair catching it teach them to deal with failure?
Right.
How do you get better if you don't take a kick out and get to the 10 or the 11-yard line because you thought you could do it and you couldn't? How does doing that and not getting chewed out change your mindset? How do you improve? And I know that people will talk about, getting chewed out isn't the way to do it, but Dave Tobe will let you make your decisions. And then if they don't work out, he's going to give you an earful because of it. That's how these things change. And that's how this team has operated. I think that we could say that, Sky Moore last year probably got chewed out a ton for kickoffs, a ton. And then guess what? In the AFC Championship game, that punt return, he caught it. Then he made a big play right after it. And whether you want to attribute that to Tobe, you don't have to. But I think letting players know or the opportunity to fail on their own and learn from that grows players better than just playing it safe.
You got to teach somehow. And it is a little bit old school. I can identify with that. I'm a kid that I didn't wear a seatbelt until I was a grown adult, folks. I ran around, my folks smoked in the car, that kind of thing, You got to learn somehow. There are positives, right? It was long enough ago. So you got to let that go, I think. The chewing out, whatever it is, public humility, people are going to cry about it. It has to show you that there are repercussions from your decision-making that reinforces your decision-making and allows the coach in Tobe's space to be able to put more faith in his guy to learn from that and then make a better decision next time. That's what they're looking for, because this isn't college football. You're not flipping up signs on the sideline every play to give guys exactly what they have to do every down, every second. This is professional sports. Maestro, thank you for your question. I couldn't get my other question in the other night. Sorry, I must have ended early. But under the radar player on offense and defense that we should keep an eye on could be an X factor in the offense or defense this year. Who you got, Dan?
All right. Well, for me, I think the X factor on defense. Oh, this is a fun one because there's a lot of different guys you could put in this mold. But I like to get a little saucy and
do it.
I think Mike Dana.
I was going to go there, damn it.
Mike Dana is a guy you should keep an eye on because last year was his best season as a defensive end under Joe Cullen. He got better. He looked more comfortable doing what he was doing. And I don't think that he's just going to be relegated to this backup role player. Like never mind. He is a backup role player, but like relegated to a guy who doesn't play because you bring in Charles Omenihu when you draft an FAU. Mike Dana is an experienced player that got, I think, 6 or 7 sacks last year. Like, it wasn't just like he was 2-3 sack guy. He had he was close to double-digit sacks. And I think that he could even have a better season this year. And in those big games against the Chargers, which he always seems to sack Justin Herbert. He's a magnet to Justin Herbert. He just figures it out. Those are big games in division that he makes big plays in. And I think that Mike Dana could have another nice season for the Chiefs on defense, on offense. The only guy that's coming to mind, and it's someone who I already talked about, is Jody Fortson. Like, Jody Fortson could be the guy who maybe catches 7 touchdown passes this year if he stays healthy.
Okay. I want to go back for just a second. I'm terrible at impressions, folks. But for those of you who have known and listened for years and years and years, especially Locked On Chiefs when he would come on with us, you can hear it. If you close your eyes real tight, you can hear, listen, because Terez said this all the time. The contract year is undefeated. Mike Dana is in a contract year. So I expect more. So listen. That could be it. The other guy that I think has something to prove, and the only thing that he can do for himself for the rest of his career is to play his ass off this season. That's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Could he come out with more spark? He's going to play somewhere else next year. He will not be back. But if he wants to continue his career, that's the guy who's got to show up.
Please. This is the one thing. I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. Clyde having a better year this year than he had maybe the last 2 years would be music to my ears. And what I mean by a better year is catching the football like a madman.
Right.
And being efficient.
Do something with it.
Just do something with it.
Yeah, do something. Fansness, I'm not sure if I even said your name right, my friend, but I love the YouTube name. Spelled a little bit differently. Will this be uploaded to Spotify? Yes. For those of you who don't know, if you missed the videos live, you can get the audio over on the podcast feed. It's on all the major platforms, including Spotify as well as Apple and all those things. So yes, you can certainly find it there later. Tommy, if D-Hop were to go to the Bills, in my opinion, I think it would cause some problems with Diggs. Could you see Diggs getting traded if that happens? I agree with you. It would cause problems with Diggs. There's no way in hell they trade Stephon Diggs. That would be suicide as far as Brandon Beane goes. Brandon Beane's a smart GM. If I had to pick another guy of that age, under 45, besides Brett Veach, Brandon Beane would be my choice. He's not going to make a silly mistake or let it get to the point where the player's so disgruntled with the addition of D-Hop. And I will give you this too. Everything you guys remember when I was hyping Trayvon so much, he was my L'Jarius Sneed of the class before, right? Everybody thought I was nuts. Well, we know how that turned out his rookie year. He's had a little bit up and down, right? He's gone to his brother, and his brother's been very consistent in telling him, we are here to dominate and win. Stephon Diggs wants to win. He does not care if D-Hop joins this roster. Stephon Diggs will learn everything he can from him, and I don't think it will become a problem at all, myself.
It would be beautiful, too, because Stephon Diggs does his best work on the outside. He was one of the best receivers at getting open last year in the last couple of years from the outside. And DeAndre Hopkins honestly needs to play in the slot because he doesn't get open that much anymore. And unless you're just going to say, I'm going to go right down the field against a smaller corner, play him on the outside, fine. But he's playing the slot. And right now, Khalil Shakur, I like Khalil Shakur a lot, too. Quite a bit. Yeah. But that's your starting slot receiver, in my opinion, for that team this year. DeAndre Hopkins is kind of an upgrade.
He's better. Yeah, let's be real. He's better. I just don't know. If I'm DeAndre, I like Josh. I'm a big Josh Allen guy. Like I was a proponent. I still am. Yeah. But if I'm DeAndre, I don't know that his consistency and his propensity to bail the pocket and take it himself makes me feel like I'm going to get everything that I need as a guy who's got 1 or 2 seasons left.
Yeah, no, I get it for sure.
So that draws the delineation for me. Info. Why doesn't the NFL add another bye week? It's better for the player health, scheduling around TNF and European games, and it adds 1 more week of viewing without having to add another game. I completely agree with you. I said when they went to 17, they should consider when they go to 18, and they are going to go to 18 regular season games.
That's it.
They must.
They will be going to 18, and when they do, they held it back so they can give something to the players. Because when you have an offer, the NFL knows they're going to make money no matter what. They know if they go to 18, they're going to make that money. The players will play. But you have something to give them now. You say, okay, negotiation table, we're going to go to 18 weeks, but we're going to give you all another bye week, which means your contracts will be, your checks will be over another 2 weeks, not over one. They'll be split out over 2 more weeks throughout the season, which divvies it up a little bit, but that's what the players wanted. That was such a big talking point a few years ago. You get all of it up front or over the first every week. Now it's spaced out over 2 weeks. So now you're getting, more paychecks later into the season. That's what they want. Those bye weeks, it's just a negotiation chip.
I totally hear you. I'm 100% with you. And I think also when they go to 18, that bye week is going to be very, very, very important.
Yeah.
To just how they expand the European games, because more teams are going to go to Europe. That is the growth.
Those Thursday night flexes too. Like they're going to be moving bye weeks around and changing things. Like they're going to have like half their season, maybe not half, maybe a third or quarter of their season played overseas at that point, I think.
And I'll tell you, I'll give you guys a little insider info. A friend of mine who covers the owners meetings every year gave me a little tip. It's not just Europe. Think about Carnival. Think about an NFL game being played in Rio during Carnival and take over all of South America.
Yeah, they've already kind of gone on there with the Mexico City game. They haven't gone back yet. South America's coming too. Everyone's going to be a part of it.
It's going to be it's going to be a true world championship, and kudos to them.
Yeah,
I'm ready for that.
Expand.
Right? Just keep on rolling. KL, thanks for the support. I love the fact you threw this in here. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 32, no matter what. Brother, you mean 3. Drop the 2 off that. Marvin Harrison might go first. Let's be real. If Caleb Williams does not up his game, Marvin Harrison could go first.
Even if he does, and the Cardinals commit to Kyler Murray. We don't know if that's going to happen, or we don't know what's going to happen there. But they should still draft Caleb Williams, in my opinion. But if they do commit to Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. will go number 1 overall. He will, because they're going to be so bad.
I'll double down. If they decide they're going to stick with Kyler, it will be Marvin Harrison Jr. and Bowers 1 and 2 for the Arizona Cardinals. I tell you that now.
Honestly, if they get 1 and 2, who cares? Draft Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. anyway and say bye-bye to Kyler. If you get 1 and 2, that's what it should be.
You Cardinals fans, if there's any Cardinals fans in the house, I'm sorry.
I feel bad for what's going on for you right now.
We have a unique perspective in Kansas City. We don't have to deal with that BS. Cheers to you. I don't know how y'all do it. Terry, did Mahomes make Reid a better coach, though? That is a great question. And I can't say better. I'll see if Dan thinks better. I will say this. I think he made him younger and opened him up a little bit more. I think it made him more creative, and I think it took 5 or 8 years off of Andy's age in terms of play design.
I don't think you're wrong, but I do think it did make him better. But the reason it made him better is because Andy Reid was always looking for that guy. Donovan McNabb had the flashes, but in those big games, Donovan kind of crumbled a little bit. Like he wasn't, I loved watching Donovan McNabb with the Eagles. I did, I think everyone loved watching those teams, but they never could get over that hump. And Andy Reid early in his coaching career was always thought about that coach that just had those time management issues. Those stuck with him to his early days in Kansas City, even through the Alex Smith years. And bringing in Patrick Mahomes, like you said, allowed him to get more creative. And not just that, but they had Tyreek Hill at the time too. Like you took Andy Reid and you souped him up. Like you just injected him into his own version of his offense with 2 of the most explosive players ever.
It's like sitting down to play a chess game and you take a pawn off, you put Silver Surfer on there or something. It's crazy.
It makes sense. So yes, Andy Reid was able to do all of that, and when Patrick Mahomes opened him up. So the only reason I say it made him better is because it allowed Andy to kind of do what he's always wanted to do. And this is what he's always wanted to do. And he's kind of like, oh, wait, I've had this stuff. I've had all of this stuff, and now I can use it.
Hey, sprinkle it in. Folks, we are at the 5-minute mark. Like, sub, and hit the bell. Please, please, please hit that like, especially if you're new around here. This is where we get to the speed round. We're going to wrap up the rest of your questions here in the next couple of minutes. Please don't be offended if we don't go too deep, but we're going to try to get to them all. And this one's specifically for Dan. Dan, what is your Air Force SC?
Okay, so I won't get too specific, but I was a jet engine mechanic at Beale Air Force Base, so I worked on the U-2s. That's where I met my wife, who was also a jet engine mechanic, and now she is a jet engine maintenance officer. So she oversees engine maintenance wherever she's at.
Rock and roll. Tommy, what cap moves would you guys make that other than sign Chris Jones to bring in a veteran such as Frank Clark?
I think you have to restructure Joe Tooney, and I would be looking to extend Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I'd get the Snead deal done just to get like 1.5 or 2, whatever you can, because I want to do that anyway.
Thoughts about that for my Wednesday video.
Okay.
You guys better be waiting for that.
That's what I'm looking for. I like that. Tommy had another one. Do you think the Chiefs are waiting for the Jets to sign Quentin Williams so they can make sure that Jones gets paid appropriately? Hell no. They are doing everything they can to get that done before Quentin, because Quentin's going to drive that price up.
But is it really? Does Quentin change what? No, does Quentin change what Chris Jones makes? He's going to be making right under. I don't think he does. I think he'll be make right under whatever Aaron Donald gets. And I don't think that anyone's creeping. I don't think Quentin Williams creeps close to that. I don't think it changes what he gets.
I think it's enough of a floor that right now it raises the floor of what the contract has to be, because I think the Jets are willing to give. That's my only thing. If the Jets were being a little bit stubborn, maybe, but I don't think they are. I don't think they'll take that chance. But I hope you're right, Dan. I really, really do. Wanya, swing tackle / fullback. Colby, I like the way you think, but Wanya moves good, but not that good. He ain't no fullback. I'll take Noah Gray. I'll take Matt Bushman. I'll definitely take Fortson. I think Jody Fortson could block inside on a wham or something, and I'm comfortable with it. Hell, I'd put me out there before I asked Wanya to do it.
Honestly, guys, I would put Chris Jones back there and see with the football. I would love to see that.
Oh, man. Colin's going to be so pissed when he sees something like that happen, and I don't blame him. Would you trade for Chase Young from the Commanders? And if so, what would your compensation look like? I don't know, man. I got a bad feeling. I got to tell you. I would, but I wouldn't go above a 3rd-round pick.
My computer is acting up a little bit here. I don't know what's going on with these things, but I would not trade for him.
Not at all.
I don't think the Commanders are going to be very forthright in their quest with a brand new owner to want to trade him for anything less than a 1st-round draft pick. Personally,
Fair enough.
But that's me.
So with the Chiefs' interest in trading for D-Hop, does that push Chris Jones' contract extension through, or do we not end up with D-Hop because Chris Jones won't settle for less than the top-paid player? It does definitely, I think, put the pedal to the metal on the Jones extension. If it doesn't happen, I don't think it will be because I won't put the blame at Chris's feet for taking less than top-paid player. Chris is at the age, he's got to get his last contract as big as he can get. That's his job. That's his agent's job. That's the way the league works. I will not blame him for that. But if they do get it done, that would allow room for D-Hop.
Deserves every penny of it. Let Chris get what he wants.
Agreed. Tommy, with the current front 7, and you have to add Snead to that, how many sacks do you see them getting this season? That's a great question.
They finished 2nd in the NFL last year at 55 sacks, guys. 55 sacks. That was 2nd, okay? Eagles were at like 70-something.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that their floor or their ceiling is higher than that? I think it is. I think it's a little bit higher. I'm going to go 62.
I like that. I was going to say 60 would be a goal for me. And honestly, especially when you see teams take such a drastic leap, they were at 39 the year before. That was a huge leap. And without Frank Clark,
Joe Cullen, man,
right? If they were to get anywhere 55 to 60, I'd be happy. I would not be surprised if there's a slight regression.
Okay.
But I will also say that I am more concerned about, do they continue to get more pressures? Not necessarily finishing plays. When you're talking about having 2 rookies as your best edge rushers, which is a distinct possibility with this roster, that puts the finishing maneuvers on the back burner. Felix did not finish with a high finish percentage on any of my metrics. Got decent pressure percentage, didn't get that. You got to affect the quarterback in some way. Tom Brady's out of the league, fastest quarterback draw in the league, gone. You still have a lot of guys to get the ball out quick, so you got to get those pressures. Apex.
Do it.
What's one pick from the recent NFL draft, 20 to 22, that you would take back and pick a different player?
I mean, we all know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
We all know the answer. It's Clyde. You don't pick Clyde. You just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean,
take T. Higgins.
Oh, stop.
Draft T. Higgins.
Just make it stop.
Just that's what you do. You don't draft Clyde, you draft T. Higgins. It's all over from there. Just saying.
Des, thank you for the support, buddy. Random question, but do you think Caleb Williams can come in and be Mahomes when he gets drafted next year in terms of immediate success and talent? Des, I love your optimism, man, and I do like Caleb. He's going to be an Arizona Cardinal, if anything, unless something drastic changes. There's no way he walks into that offense without D-Hop and makes any kind of impact close to what Patrick Mahomes did in a second year. We got to remember, Patrick didn't get his impact until the second year. So, no, I don't see that. If either he falls down or the Cardinals actually win a few ball games and it's someone else that has a better offensive line, that has a better group of weapons, maybe he could come in and have a bigger impact. I still don't think it'll live up to Patrick in year 2.
Caleb still has quite a bit of growth to do.
He does.
I'm not sure he's going to get that at USC. I don't. Lincoln Riley. I don't believe Lincoln Riley does a great job at making his quarterbacks think. I don't think he does. So we have 2 years of growth for Caleb Williams because, again, Patrick had a year to sit and watch Alex Smith. I feel like people forget, for whatever reason, I'm not talking about you, Des, but people in general forget that he learned so much from the whole process. So Caleb's not going to come in and just blow it up.
And let's be real, Kyler ain't teaching him nothing. I mean,
absolutely not.
He's not going to be a help. Yeah, exactly. Good question, though, Des. Appreciate you. Ryan, could you see the Houston come back to KC for 1 year? Gary, I like the way you think. I was on Justin Houston when he was at Georgia. I've been a fan since day one. I don't like the way that he ended his tenure in Kansas City, and I think the team's more pissed off about it than I am. I don't think that bridge exists anymore, so I tend to doubt it.
Sad, but me too. I'm with you.
Dig me some Justin Houston, though. Dang it.
Me too.
Justin Houston was the first guy that I ever called, Dan, just for your knowledge back in the day. First guy I ever called that would be a draft pick that hit. Red Hood, hope you're doing well. Which linebacker tandem has higher production or potential? Okay. Good question. It depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about the number one metric that everybody goes by for linebackers, and that's tackles, it's going to be Bolton and Tranquil. If you're talking about pass deflections, incompletion percentage, it's going to be Gay and Tranquil. Is there a way for that to change? Possibly, but I think that's the two distinctions for me is what kind of linebacker you want.
Yeah, you're talking about, do you want run stuffers? Like, who's going to be the best run stuffing duo? Who's going to be the best pass? I think that the best combination of using both of these guys is, again, Willie Gay and Nick Bolton on obvious run situations and obvious passing situations. I believe it's still Gay and Tranquil, but we'll see.
We will see. Can always cross our fingers. Thank you, Red Hood. Appreciate you. Doug, thank you as always. Can Justin Ross jersey coming soon, Dan? I think
I would love to add a Justin Ross jersey to my collection. So please make the roster, Justin. I'd love to see it. Do it. I would love to see it. I don't hate these players, y'all. I want them to be good.
Heck, if Justin Ross makes a roster, Dan, I'll buy you the jersey. How's that?
All right. There we go. Thanks, guys. Free jerseys.
Doug, thank you for clicking that one. Realistically, what's the floor for Rashee Rice?
Oh, I don't know if y'all like the answer for this. The floor is really, 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 really low. Like, there is no, production value right now. Because, again, Andy Reid's offense is hard to learn. His floor is what Sky Moore did last year. 200 plus yards.
0 touchdowns. Yep.
Yeah, that's the floor. That's what you're looking at.
Yep. And right now he's number 4 at best. Yep. D-Hop, he's number 5. That makes things harder. I think this is another similar situation to what we were just talking about with Patrick. It's more about year 2 for Rashee than it is for year 1.
Absolutely.
If he broke 250 yards, like that's exactly what Sky did last year and scored at all in the regular season, I think you're really happy with it. This could be our last question for the night, folks, unless somebody snuck a super chat in I missed. Tatum, I'm glad you made it. Last second, buddy. Good to see you. I'm going to do the last question just for you, Tatum. And KL, obviously, thank you for your support. Either Dan or Ryan, or both. Whatever has been on your mind that you guys just find fascinating regarding this team this year.
Just fascinating. The most fascinating. Oh, man. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk to you about it now, even though I kind of, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. I want to because it's so interesting, but I need to give you guys something for Wednesday. So that Easter egg is going to go back. It's going to go back into hiding. We'll find it on Wednesday. So another thing that's been really fascinating for me is what their plan is going to be at running back. Going forward, okay? Going forward, I know a lot of people like Deneric Prince. Deneric Prince is almost a one-for-one copy of Isaiah Pacheco, okay? But he is. He doesn't wiggle very well. He's an open field runner. He doesn't pass protect well. He doesn't necessarily catch the ball very well. Isaiah showed better last year. But he doesn't make a lot of guys miss in space. He's more of a trying to run you over kind of guy. Clyde's not going to be here next year. I love Jerick McKinnon. I love what he's done. Realistically speaking, he's only getting older, and those injuries are piling up. What's the plan? I don't know. And I know that Isaiah has things he does well, but there's a lot of, let's just say there's a lot of yards left out there. Okay. Lots of yards left out there.
There's a lot of compliment that could go to that.
So yeah, how are they going to supplement running back in the coming future? Say next year, Clyde and McKinnon are not back because they flirted with that this year with McKinnon not being back. Next year, we know Clyde's not going to be. So what happens? I don't know. We're talking about a day 2 draft pick, talking about them signing a free agent next year, possibly both. I'm intrigued.
I like that. So my wife's a redhead, and I dated a lot of redheads. I have a type. So do the Chiefs.
Really?
They like those running backs, man. You got to sprinkle them in. They got a type. It is what it is. Okay, I'll tell you the things that I'm most intrigued about is what does Patrick do to change his game personally now that I feel that they're going back to the more athletic offensive line, the more vertical pass sets, and more outside zone in terms of what does he do now, depending on what he gets? That's one thing on offense. The big thing that I'm most intrigued by is we saw a great rookie class play a lot of snaps last year. There's 2 teams in particular on this roster. They have to play 3 times in the regular season, and I expect they have to play at least one of them, if not both of them, in the playoff run. And that is the Los Angeles Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals that have large, physical, leaping ability type wide receivers that this young cornerback group is built to stop. Can they get there in year 2? Can they make that next leap to not just keep up with them, which I think they did a pretty good job with, but can they slow them down to the point that they can stop those particular trios of wide receivers? That's what I'm most intrigued by.
Can't wait. And I'm telling you, we talked about it already. One of the linchpins in that whole process is going to be talked about on Wednesday for my film review. So it's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. It's going to be fun.
I'm ready for it. I hope you guys are too. I hope that you had a great and safe and memorable Memorial Day. Cheers to everybody who's fallen, for all of you who have folks in your family just like we did. We appreciate you being here. I hope that it was fun. It was fun for me. Sorry I was late. Dan, thanks for locking everything down and doing what you do.
Trying to survive over here with these allergies, but I'm doing all right now.
You're going to make it. It's almost pine season here, so hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We have content coming from you all week from all the angles that we can get. If there's breaking news, I'll definitely cover it as soon as I possibly can. Hope that you had a great day and a great weekend. Check us out tomorrow. If you're new, like, sub, hit the bell, do those kind of things. And if you're one of us already, hit that like. It helps a lot. It really does. YouTube likes it. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.